This is how much people your age are actually making.
Payday in the UK be like?
These are the worst salaries to earn in the UK. At number 5, 35,000.
2 wages, £3,400 coming in. Still not enough.
February is that time of the year where corporate bonuses and pay rises are being handed out, and I just found out mine, so let's talk about it.
So the number one bin man's put, if a bin lorry driver is on £38,000 dropping to 30k, that's over 20% cut. Is the MP taking a 20% pay cut?
Something doesn't add up. When I was younger, one full-time wage could often support a household.
I have a big question for you, and I would love for you to leave your comments below. So here goes. Should MPs get a pay cut during a cost of living crisis?
The first thing we have to recognise in all these pay disputes is to ask the question, who's doing the pushing? Whose conditions have been changed by whom? And everybody in this country who's at work and paid at the moment is being pushed by inflation and a rising cost of living. The wages which they had 2 years ago are not the wages they have now. They're worth considerably less.
They've got this uncapping of the bankers' bonuses.
Yes.
I mean, so you've got uncapping of bankers' bonuses on one side, millions, and then you've got people up in the north of England who are in the food bank deciding whether they're feeding the 4-year-old. Unbelievable. How can you have that? I mean, we've got somebody ringing my place and saying, look, can you get some milk for us, Dave? We need milk for a food bank.
Yeah.
So we bought them a year's supply of milk. And then the other side, their priority is uncapping bankers' bonuses.
But they're not earning up.
I wouldn't pay them with brass washers. What we need is a fairer taxation.
Yeah.
We need to be lifting the poorest out of the poverty and the food crisis that we've got. The ones with the broadest shoulders need to bear more of the pay.
End of the month, and as a corporate lawyer in London, £16,000 just landed in my account. Sounds great, but here's how fast it goes.
Alright guys, can I have your attention for a minute? Now listen, this is a really uncomfortable conversation that we're going to have, and quite frankly it's embarrassing. But you know, recently we got awarded that contract, that big contract that we've all been working on. Right, okay, well we were expecting part payment from them, and they've told us now that they're not going to pay us for a couple of months. Right, and that's our problem because, well, it means that we're not going to be able to pay wages for at least 2 months. But listen, before you get worried and angry, I decided to give you 10% of the wages you're going to miss out on top when you finally get your wages. Are you serious? What's the date? It's not April Fool's, is it? No, I can't go without wages for 2 months. I got bills to pay. What, have you got any savings? I've got savings. Never mind that. What about a company? Does the company not get any savings? Any overdraft? Any backup plan? Any cash flow? Well, yeah, we have, but we used it. Aye. Used it to pay yourselves, no doubt. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, listen, I'm not going to go into where the money's gone. But listen, those are the facts, and these are the options.
Welcome to Blighty Blighted, your daily reminder that Britain's workers seem to be running faster every year, while somehow ending up poorer. Now then, has anyone else noticed that we've all been getting poorer for years? Not officially, of course. Officially, everything is fine. The economy is growing. Employment is up. The experts tell us things are improving. Yet somehow ordinary people keep feeling worse off. Funny that. I've been thinking about it. A lot of Brits feel like their pay has effectively been cut over the last 15 or 20 years. Not necessarily because their wages went down, but because prices went up faster.
Many families have 2 incomes and still under pressure. I'm not saying life was perfect back then, but it does make you wonder what's changed. Because people seem to be working harder than ever, yet many don't feel any further ahead. Am I the only one thinking this?
I'm now a financial planner, and this is my career progression. So I actually worked in engineering for 7 to 8 years, I took a career break because I wanted to decide on what I wanted to do going forward with my life. I just needed a break at that point. So I was basically traveling, spend time with family and figuring out what I wanted to do. I then decided to pivot and go into financial services and specifically into financial planning. That was my goal at the time. So the role that I took on was a trainee power planning role just under 3 years ago, 2 years, 9 months specifically. And I took a 75% pay cut. Yeah, you heard that right. 75% pay cut to start off in that role. I knew it was going to happen because obviously I had to restart, get my exams, get my experience. And I moved through that role into a power planning team lead role a 1.5 years after that. And another 1.5 years from there, I'm now a financial planner. So yeah, so watch this space.
And if you don't know me, hi, I'm Kira. I built a 6-figure portfolio in just under 5 years. If you're 60 plus, the average earnings per year is £36,036. If you're between 50 and 59, that goes up a bit to £40,456 per year. If you're between 40 and 49, it's £42,796 per year. 30 to 39 is £39,988 a year, so almost 40,000. And between the ages of 22 to 29, that's £32,292 per year. And if you're between the ages of 18 to 21, it's £24,440 per year. Let me know in the comments how you stack up and follow for more from me.
So the average monthly salary in the UK is £3,250. Now, over £3,000 every month is a lot of money, but it begs the question, is this enough for somebody to live on who's on their own, lives on their own? They might not have dependents, but they might have, you know, a mortgage, a lot of other things, normal outgoings that people have. This works out to be around £800 per week, and £800 is a lot of money, especially coming up to Christmas. Now, obviously, this is pre-tax, so you can knock 20% off that. But let me know in the comments, is this enough for you to live off of?
Now you're going to see a payslip of when I was a specialist after about 7 years of working. So this is a very senior doctor at this point in my career, a senior clinical decision maker, making all the important diagnosis, your management plan, genuinely saving your life, doing complex medical procedures that no one else can really do. And let's have a look. You can see right there, £16.65 per hour. Wow. And right just below that, you can see for doing nights and weekends, an extra £8.32. And in that month, similar to before, about 173 hours worked. So that's about £4,300 for the month. And then you've got tax. So
your boss has just told you you'll get a 25% pay cut. Your job's not changing, or responsibilities aren't changing. If anything, they're a bit more. You've got to do loads of paperwork to actually keep your job. But people that are coming in from other countries don't need to do it. Maybe you want to look for another job, but you can't because no one else is hiring. And even if you did manage to find another job, you've got to give your current employee 12 months notice. And to top it all off, your bills have gone up. It's even more expensive just to go to work. And shockingly, that's the reality for UK dairy farmers right now. Milk prices are absolutely crashing. Are we seeing that reflected in the supermarkets? No, sadly not. For some people by 25%, which is around 10, 12 pence. For other people, it's been a lot more. And I'm talking people are being paid 50, 60% less than what they were being paid last October. The job hasn't changed. The cows still need milked. The bills are going up, if anything. But that is the reality of being a dairy farmer in the UK. Our hands are tied. If you want to support your British dairy farmer right now, please just buy British in the supermarket. Buy your butter. Buy milk that is British milk. Buy yogurts that are made with British milk. Be very careful, guys. Unfortunately, labelling in the supermarket is not clear. And you might be picking up a yogurt and thinking, yeah, it's British. Read the small print.
So I've spoken a lot about my journey, but I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about inflation and the crazy cost of living. Why? Because it's something I actually feel really strongly about right now. So let me ask you this question. Is one wage in the UK enough for families right now? I mean, is it? I mean, inflation increases, your net worth decreases, the gap's getting wider because wages don't keep pace. So guess what? Our spending power is getting less and less, and it's not going to change. So I know for a fact that millions of adults in the UK are looking for options right now. We decided to create our own free community for anybody willing to take action. Now, how can this benefit you? Well, firstly, some much needed extra income. 2, it's beginner friendly. 3, we've got a supportive community, and best of all, you can fit it around your full-time job. It's free and it's available for anybody who's willing to learn.
And under those circumstances, people who have the power to try and get back some of what they've lost from inflation can be expected to do so. And my own view of British governments and the railways has been for many years that it's the government which causes far more disruption to my twice daily travel on the trains than any union has ever done. The failure to maintain the ludicrous experiment of privatisation, which largely wrecked the railways, the constant track circuit failures, signal failures. This is not a well-run, seriously invested service, and it's not taken seriously by the government.
Bills first, £3,800 for my flat in Chelsea, plus utilities, council tax and a cleaner, because I'm never home long enough to lift a finger. Comes to about £4,500 gone already. Expenses next. £2,000 on client meetings that are basically expensive dinners, £1,200 in private club fees, £600 on taxes because I can't stand the tube, and £500 on bespoke suits and shirts. Then my debts, £700 still going toward my old law school loan, mostly out of pride at this point, and £600 for a car lease I barely use but can't bring myself to give up. And finally, savings. £2,000 into my investment portfolio and £1,000 into a holiday fund. By the time it's all said and done, there's basically nothing left. If you're struggling to make ends meet and you want a way out, comment budget, and I'll send you the template I use.
Okay, let's have a look at the numbers. So, 1,200 on your mortgage or on your rent. You've got 500 plus on bills, just your essentials. You've got £600 on food, sometimes more. And that's £2,300 already gone. So that's before your car insurance, before your petrol, before your parking, before childcare, which is another mortgage in some instances. So now what? That's £1,000 left for two people, a family, a life. And it just disappears so fast. And this is why people are struggling. So even with two incomes, because salaries just haven't kept up with the price of everything else. And that's the issue. There just isn't the gap anymore. What do we do about it? I don't know. But the main thing here, and that's why it's important to have the conversations, is to know that you're not alone.
At 35k, you start losing support such as universal credit, council tax deductions, and cost of living help. Yet you are still earning below the UK average wage of £39,000. Number 4, 80,000. Earning 80k is great. Unless you have children. You are firmly into the 40% tax bracket, yet you get no child benefit. A couple earning 60k each will get full child benefit, but you on 80k will get absolutely nothing. How is that fair? Number 3, 25,000. Anything below £25,000 is likely breaking the law. Minimum wage is currently £12.21 an hour. So if you are working 8 hours a day and are earning under 25k, you are likely being paid lower than minimum wage. Number 2, 100,000. Congratulations, you now pay 60% tax. Every £2 you earn over £100,000, you lose £1 of your personal tax-free allowance, creating an effective tax rate of 60%, which I think we can all agree is completely unfair. And at number 1, the worst wage you can earn is less than you are now. While these wages do have their problems, there are very few circumstances where you will have less money in your pocket by earning more money. And especially as income tax is marginal, there is no reason to not try and earn as much money as you can and hitting that follow button.
The CEO of Barclays reportedly made over £15 million in 2025, 248 times the median salary at the company. So this represents a 29% increase compared to last year and coincides with the company announcing record profits of £9.14 billion for the year. So let's break down exactly how this pay package was earned. So firstly was the fixed salary. So this was £2.06 million, which is actually down from £2.94 million last year. Then there's the bonus, which came in at £3.3 million, which was over £1 million more than last year. But the main component of this massive pay package was the long-term incentive plans, which were vesting in 2025. So this is where essentially senior management, like the CEO, will be given shares in the company that they work for as part of their remuneration package. And for the CEO of Barclays, these came in at £9.45 million, where the shares that he'd been given in the past essentially were vesting and able to be then turned into cash, essentially. And so the reason this was so much this year was mainly because the Barclays share price had gone up 58% in the period of 2025, meaning that the total pay worked out to be just over £15 million for the CEO.
For context, I work for a bank that earns billions every year, and last year they actually announced their most profitable year to date. And not only that, they've actually begun to lay people off to, you know, maximize on their profits. So if you do the maths, they definitely have money to spare. However, despite all of this, the raise that I got for this year was a measly 2.78%. That is all. And if we compare it to my raise last year, which was around 4.65%, it is very hard to not feel disappointed. And what's even crazier is that it doesn't even cover inflation, which means I have technically effectively received a pay decrease, because inflation right now is at 3.5%, which means that the pay rise that I received won't even cover the increase in the cost of living in London, and London is very expensive to live in. And this is why I will always say the best way to get a raise is to job hop. I know some people look down on it because they think that being loyal to a company is what's best for you, but believe me, it's not. I have literally seen companies lay people off that have had decades of service with them. The relationship you have with your workplace is purely transactional, okay? You're working for them in return for money. Some people don't understand that, which is why they'll stay somewhere for decades thinking maybe someday they'll be rewarded for it, when in reality, they don't care how long you've been. It doesn't matter whether you've been there for a year or 20 years. You're all the same to them.
Sam, let me just switch gears here for a second, because immigration isn't the only problem in care. I'm Shannon and I rant about the UK care system because it is actually utter bullshit. The entire sector is rotten. Not cracked, not flawed, rotten from the top down, big man. Let's talk about the reality of working in care. You're doing life or death work, washing, feeding, medicating, safeguarding, documenting, and you're getting paid barely more than someone folding t-shirts in Primark, rude girl. We're lifting adults, handling medical needs, dealing with dementia, end-of-life care, trauma, abuse and crisis, and you're expected to do it all with a smile. No sick days, no pay rise. You work 12-hour shifts that magically turn into 14 because someone called in sick and there's no one to cover. Before Karen jumps in my comments with, just leave, people that's the problem, Karen. The system is collapsing. And don't even start me with the phrase, but it's a vocation. No, a vocation doesn't mean starvation of wages. A vocation doesn't mean guilt-tripped into overtime because there's no staff. A vocation doesn't mean you're emotionally destroyed, physically exhausted and financially struggling while the company's running it, pulling millions. You can't build a workforce out of burnout, guilt and minimum wage, big man. And until carers are actually paid what the job's worth, the crisis isn't a problem, it's a guarantee. I'm too loud to be ignored, number 10. Hit follow because I'm not backing down from this chaos.
Did you know the top 10% of earners in the UK pay a little over 60% of all income tax collected in this country? Let that sink in for a second. Everybody talks about let's tax the rich, let's tax the high earners. They are already carrying their weight. You've got to think, you don't want to put these people off too much that they don't want to live and work in this country, because then the tax goes with them. Okay, they are already footing 60% of the bill, and that is just the top 10%, meaning 90% of the working population are only contributing the remaining 40%. And I looked at a stat and it said the top 1% does around 29% of that. So the top 1% is already doing half of that. I know it's easy to say if you're, say, an average earner on the average salary of, say, 35k or even less, your minimum wage, 22, 23, 24k, to say tax the rich, tax the high earners. 100k, 150k is particularly well off, but it's not rich. It's not rich. Like, rich for me is someone wealthy with assets and that sort of thing. Being a high earner and being a rich are not the same thing. The people we should be targeting are the organisations, the people like the energy companies that have been putting our bills up for years and are making record profits, they're the people that we should be taxing higher. You shouldn't be penalised for doing well in this country. You should be not necessarily rewarded, but you shouldn't be unfairly penalised. And that is what a lot of people are proposing. And I don't buy it.
Because while millions of people are struggling to pay rent, energy bills and food costs, MPs are still earning over $93,000 a year plus all those lovely expenses. And here's what's really firing people up. MPs' pay can automatically rise even when the country is struggling. But ordinary workers, many haven't seen a real pay rise in years. Public sector wages are falling behind inflation and the gap between politicians and the public just keeps growing. So here's a question. Why do MPs get pay rises when everyone else is tightening their belts? If they represent the people, shouldn't they feel the same financial pressure we all do? And let's not forget, junior doctors have been striking repeatedly because their pay has fallen by around a quarter in real terms since 2008. They're saving lives, yet many say they can't afford rent or even heating. Meanwhile, MPs continue to receive salary increases. Is that fair or is that out of touch? Some argue MPs should earn a high salary to stop corruption, attract talent and make sure politics isn't only for the wealthy. Others say, hold on, if nurses, teachers, junior doctors and million workers are struggling, why should MPs not struggle? So I want to know what you think. Should MPs take a pay cut until the cost of living crisis is over?
Welcome to my first episode of Oversharing My Finances. Starting strong, me sharing my pay slips, what a 61k salary looks like and what the take-home pay is. And I just want to put a disclaimer before I begin. This is not to make anyone feel bad. This is not to brag about anything. This is just about transparency and being open about finances. I'm interested in how people deal with their finances, how they save up money, how to be efficient with money and find better ways on how to grow your money. I think it's nice for people to learn from others and what they're doing and what might have helped them along the line of their journey of finances or buying homes. I need to use my laptop for this because all my figures and everything is on here. My annual salary is £61,894. That's before anything's taken off. Next on the screen is what the different deductions are on a monthly basis. My gross pay, as you can see, is £5,157. That's before anything is taken off, by the way. Then, after tax, national insurance and pension contributions, here's what I actually take on home. The net pay, the amount that actually goes into my bank account, is £3,652. Now, when someone hears 61k salary, they automatically think, wow, that's a lot of money this person must be taking home. Actually, the numbers are very different. When you take that money home, it's a lot different of what lands up in your bank account to what when people say your annual salary is. So I don't let the numbers ever fool me. If someone said to me, oh, 100k, for me, I just think, oh, well, how much of the difference is that going to be after you're paying higher rate tax? But I think this is the reality for most of us. Now, if you want to see where my take-home pay of that £3,652 actually goes, so the food, the bills, the childcare, any investments, follow me on episode 2 where I'll be sharing more.
Stick with me on this one because this is in regards to the bin men taking a pay cut. This is in regards to booking a slot to go to your local tip. I applied to be a bin lorry driver when I passed my HGV. And he did say, these lads don't mess about. They want to start at 6 and they want to finish at 2. They're in and they're out. Which sounds like an absolute dream. And people these days, for me, they want more money, want to do less work. But 6-2, I do that now. 8-hour shift, that's what anybody should be doing. But for anybody to suggest that someone should take a pay cut in this country at this very present time with what's going on, you are deluded. Why should anybody take a pay cut? The only people, for me, in this country who should be taking pay cuts are the people who do no work and get the high pay. CEOs. Chris O'Shea, the one who went on Good Morning Britain and told us he made £8 million in 1 year. His bonus alone was a couple of million. What do these people do? In your companies where you work, you will have managers above you and CEOs and directors. Half of them lot, they shouldn't be getting anywhere near what they're getting. Why do these people not take a pay cut? Don't get me started on MPs because I'm telling you now, that them people, I've told you before, I would reform MPs' salaries. I would literally give them a base salary of about £50,000 a year No tax, no allowances and expenses. You pay for that yourself, just like the ordinary person has to do. If you want to earn any extra money, it's performance based. If you deliver on your manifesto and your promises and your policies and you do good for your areas, then you should get a bonus, just like anybody else should. You shouldn't be entitled to that £97,000 a year plus expenses and shit on top. These people get staggering amounts of money and they're taught down to the hard-working people of how to live and how much money you should need and stuff. It's absolutely bollocks. Just like booking a slot to go to your local tip. I've never heard so much shit in my life. In Bolton, you just turn up and dump your shit. Does anybody else in the UK have to book a slot to go to your local tip?
Let me get this right, yeah? You go to work for 5 days a week, right? Most people do, right, yeah? You woke up by a fucking horrible alarm clock at 12 o'clock, right? You're comfy as fuck. You've got to get up, right? Got to stuff food down your face, even if you're not hungry, just so that you get some fuel to get some energy to work, right? Get in the shower to wake yourself up. I normally cut my head shaving it because I'm fucking rushing like fuck, right, yeah? Then you drive and you get in a car, right? And sit in traffic for fucking hours trying to get to somewhere you don't want to be, right? Or you get the fucking tram full of fucking cunts, or the train full of cunts, or the bus full of smelly cunts, right? Finally get to a place full of cunts where you don't want to be and you clock watch for 8 to 10 hours, right? And then you have to repeat the process to come home. You finally get home, you're absolutely fucked, and the government, all they want to do is tell you to eat healthy and don't do this and don't do that, so that you can work more, to pay more taxes, to get all the fucking bums in this world to fucking, who don't do fuck all, including all illegal immigrants who come over here to pay for their lifestyle, what we all fucking work like fuck, right? Then it gets to Friday, you're fucking too knackered to do anything, you go to bed early because you're fucked, you try and have a few drinks but you like nodding like fuck, right? And then you have a lie-in on Saturday, then you get up and you do all the things that you couldn't do during the week. You wash, you clean, you hoover, you do all them fucking jobs that you don't want to do but need doing because you need them to get them out of your head. And then Saturday night comes and you're fucked, and then you try and watch something, right, but you're too fucking tired, and you finally watch something, you have a few drinks, and then before you know it, that's over. It's Sunday, right? You have another lie-in, or if you've got kids to take to there and everywhere, you fed them about everywhere, and then you come home and 6 o'clock comes, heartbeat comes on, green grass knocks on your fucking door, you're depressed to fuck, right? And then you just start thinking, fucking hell, I've got to do all this work shit again. And then you start getting your food ready for the morning so you don't have to fucking spend out in work, it costs a fucking fortune. Then you try and wash all your fucking work clothes that you can't find, you're thrown everywhere like fuck. And then you wash them all, and then you got to fucking dry them all, and then you got to get to bed early, and then the whole process starts again for 50 years. What a load of wank. Fuck off.
£100,000 a year as a salary is not enough. Yep, I said it. Now, once upon a time, I used to think the moment I hit 100k, I'm gonna be alright. La da da da, wait till I get my money. Right, no, it is not enough. You're gonna need more, especially if you have kids, especially if you want to get married. Listen, £5,700 after tax. By the time you pay, let's say, your mortgage or your rent, which could be probably, if you're living in a 2-bed, about 1,900 to 3 grand, depending on where you live, depending on the spec. Your car note, your car payment, even if you decide to not buy a nice car, but you buy a car, right? You save and you buy a car. Your running costs. Then some money to go into your retirement account, your S&P 500, an index fund, right? By the time you do all of that and you save a little bit for your emergency fund, you're not going to be left with much, especially after you do your grocery shopping, you pay your council tax, you pay all of your bills you have to pay, your gas, your electric, your TV, your Sky, you're just not left with much. So what I would say is, great, well done, you've hit 100k. Now go for 150. Then go for 200k. Don't just like rest on your laurels because you've hit 100k. Go for more money. Start investing your money into other things like real estate, into stocks, into short-term investments where you can buy things and sell them for a profit, because 100k is just not enough. It's not. Maybe if you're a bachelor and you don't plan to have any kids or like have a long-term relationship, then yeah, you're okay. And if you're a bachelorette, same thing. But if you're a family man, It's not enough money. Go make some more. If you like content like this, link in bio for my newsletter. Peace.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got an important question about salary versus hourly pay and what happens if your salary ends up paying you less than minimum wage. So let's get into it. So somebody reached out with this situation. They're on a salary, but their employer keeps increasing their hours. When they worked out their pay per hour, they realise they're actually earning less than the minimum wage. What does this mean legally and what can you do about it? So first, let's break down the law. In the UK, the national minimum wage applies to all workers, including those on salaries. That means when you divide your salary by the actual hours you've worked, your hourly rate must meet or exceed the legal minimum wage. Now, here's the kicker. If your salary doesn't cover enough hours to meet the minimum wage, your employer is breaking the law, and it's as simple as that. Employers, you need to listen up. If you're paying your salaried employees below minimum wage, you could face things like back pay claims. Employees can demand what they're owed. You can get fines from HMRC up to 200% of the underpayment. Ouch. Public naming and shaming. Yes, the government can publicly list non-compliant businesses, and let's be real, no company wants that reputation. What can employees do? If you find yourself in this situation, here's what you should do. First, speak to your employer. Sometimes they genuinely don't realise the problem. If they don't fix it, keep a record of all hours worked and your pay. I'd also contact ACAS or HMRC. They can step in and help you claim back underpaid wages. So our final thoughts. Nobody should be working extra hours and getting paid less than the legal minimum. If you're an employee in this situation, you do have rights. And if you're an employer, fix it before it becomes a big legal and financial mess. What do you think should be done to stop this? Drop your thoughts in the comments and follow for more work-related legal tips. Thank you.
The truth about why for some of you, your income is not growing as it should in the UK. And this is what you need to do instead. So the Office for National Statistics highlighted that the median income grew by 7% over the last 10 years, equating to an average of 0.8% per year. So the mean income was 0.1% with an increase of 0.6% over that 10-year period, which is mental. Obviously, remember that thing that happened during the pandemic, that obviously played a part. And those figures with regards to wealth is showing that your money for the average person is massively underperforming once being compared to this rate of inflation in the UK. So if you're not someone that's looking to increase your income yearly or by purchasing assets on a regular basis, your money is actually losing value year on year. Remember, earning more doesn't equate to having more, and I'll tell you why. As inflation increases year after year, if you're not purchasing the right assets or having the right investments in place, or worse, just leaving your money sitting there, your purchasing power decreases automatically as a result. Now, here are 3 simple things everyone should do to mitigate against that and to see your money have more purchasing power. Number 1, if you haven't done this already, just put some money into a high yield savings account. Just don't leave money sitting there in a current account that does nothing. You're losing money. Number 2, start investing in low index funds into a stocks and shares ISA. You can utilize and max out 20k per annum, and your money, if you put it into a low index fund, you'll see a rate of return between 8 to 10%. So even if you're the most pessimistic investor, just using the index funds, your money's growing, it's working for you. Number 3, for most of us, we only have one source of income, and we may have some side hustles that haven't yet replaced our main source of income, so you need income protection, and get one that's tied into the rate of inflation, so RPI, retail price index. And lastly, here's a bonus for you. When it's time to have your annual performance review with your line manager, be sure to be prepared to highlight your successes, what you've done in the year to warrant a pay raise. Not just the standard 1% or 2% that they may offer you, negotiate 1 or 5% as a minimum. And I always say, you don't ask, you don't get. Remember, it's not your father's company. So if you're not valued where you are, you can find somewhere else that will value you.
But this tweet really caught my eye over the weekend, and I think it highlights something really important about why so many schools are struggling so much with recruitment and retention. Right, so here's a picture. In 2008, a new teacher in England started on around £20,627 a year. Minimum wage at the time worked out roughly $10,700 to $11,500 a year, depending on whether you count a full-time week as 37.5 hours or 40 hours. That meant starting teacher pay sat around 80 to 90% higher than the minimum a full-time worker could earn. So if we skip to today, a new teacher starts on around about £32,916 a year. The current minimum wage works out around £22,300 to £23,800 per year. So the gap between a starting teacher and the minimum a full-time worker earns has shrunk to around about 35 to 45%. Now, to make this absolutely crystal clear, no one is saying minimum wage should not have gone up. It absolutely should have done. People deserve a living.
Much faster. Food, housing, energy, council tax, insurance, transport, everything. You may be earning more pounds, but those pounds are buying a lot less. And many people trace the start of this long squeeze back to that financial crisis in 2008, the famous credit crunch. Remember that? The banks made mistakes. The economy took a hit. And somehow ordinary working people have spent the next couple of decades paying the bill. Funny how that works. Since then, it feels like Britain has been stuck in a permanent state of catch-up. Wages inch forward, prices sprint ahead, and workers are left wondering why they never seem to get anywhere. Take London. Good grief. The numbers are enough to make your eyes water. Rent, house prices, travel costs, a quick lunch. Everything costs a fortune. You can earn what sounds like a respectable salary and still find yourself counting pennies by the end of the month. At this rate, owning a house in London feels less like a life goal and more like winning a television competition. And that's what worries people. Not just their own future, their children's future, their grandchildren's future, or in my case, great-grandchildren. What sort of start are they going to get? Will they be able to save? Will they be able to buy a home? Will they be able to build the sort of secure life previous generations took for granted? Many people aren't sure anymore. The old promise used to be simple. Work hard, be responsible, get ahead. Today it feels more like work hard, stay afloat, try not to fall behind. Now Britain is still a wealthy country. Most people are still getting by. But there is a growing feeling that the rewards of hard work aren't stretching as far as they once did. And that's why frustration keeps growing. Because people don't mind working. Brits have never been afraid of hard work. What they object to is working harder every year and feeling poorer every year. The real question isn't whether life is getting more expensive. We all know it is. The real question is whether future generations will ever get the opportunities previous generations enjoyed. Because if they don't, that's when a country starts losing faith in the future. Cheerio, and I will see you all in the next video.